Dear student of class 6, so far we are discussing about mountains. These mountains are classified into three categories. What are they? Fold mountains, block mountains, and volcanic mountains. So in the last class already we have discussed about fold mountains. So dear student, what is fold mountains? Fold mountains are formed due to folding of the rocks, and fold mountains are formed when two tectonic plates move towards each other, leading to the folding of the layers of the earth. And the fold mountains are greater in length but comparatively smaller in width. We have to remember the fold mountains are greater in length but comparatively small in width. For example, we have seen the Himalaya. Okay. Now let us see the block mountains. So dear student, what do you mean by block mountains? Block mountains are formed due to folding. Okay. Then block mountains are formed when the two tectonic plates move away from each other, causing crack on the surface of the earth. And these block mountains are generally wider in length as compared to fold mountains. For example, where it is seen Black Forest mountain in Germany and Europe, Rhine Valley in Europe. So dear student, let us read. Block mountains are created when large areas are widely cracked or broken up by fault and displaced vertically. The uplifted blocks are termed as hosts and lower blocks are termed as graben. These forms of landscape can be seen in Rhine Valley in Europe. So dear student, we have to remember, when large areas are broken and displaced vertically, block mountains are formed. In this case, the uplifted blocks are called hosts. On the other hand, the lower blocks are called graben. And this form of landscape can be seen in Rhine Valley in Europe and Vosges Mount in Europe. So now let us read volcanic mountains. So dear student, volcanic mountains formed due to volcanic activity is called volcanic mountains. For example of volcanic mountains are mountain Kilimanjaro and mountain Fuji. And there are also mountains in Andaman and Nicobar Islands in India and the tip of the volcanic mountains which rise from the ocean floor. So dear student, whenever there is an eruption of volcano, the lava comes out and spread around the volcanic pipe. With the passage of time, this lava solidifies and gives rise to volcanic mountains. Mountain Kilimanjaro and in Africa and mountain Fujiyama in Japan are example of such mountains. As I said, the mountains are a storehouse of water. Many rivers have their source in the glaciers in the mountains. Glaciers are rivers of ice and snow which are the source of water for a large number of major rivers of the world. Water from the mountains is also used for irrigation and generation of hydroelectricity. Mountains have a rich variety of flora and fauna. Various animals, birds and different types of plants find their habitat in mountains. Mountains are ideal location for tourists also. Tourists visit the mountains for their scenic beauty as well as popular spots like skiing, bike, gliding and river rafting. So dear student, when large globes of magma float up from beneath the crust and push up surface rocks, creating a rounded swelling in the crust. Once the magma cools, it creates a large dome of harder rocks around the surface, which erosion sometimes it reveals that the volcanic mountains. And now let us read the importance of mountains. What are the importance of mountains? Crores of people living in lowlands benefit from mountains. The first one is mountains are the source of both major and small rivers on earth. As we know, the mountains, the rivers are originated from the mountains. Mountains also play an important role in the water cycle because they capture moisture from the atmosphere and release it in the form of snow or water. which is essential for industries, settlement, and agriculture activities downstream. Then water from mountains is also used to generate hydroelectric power. The hydroelectric powers are also generated from the mountains, from water from mountains. Then renewable energy from mountains promotes economic development, especially in rural areas, and these mountains promotes economic development. In many developing countries, wood fuel from mountains is the main source of energy for settlement. What are the benefits we get from the mountains? Mountain would provide timber for local use and export. Okay, the mountains provides the timber. Mountains are centers of biodiversity because they have plant, crop, and animal diversity. Mountains are also the sources of wild foods such as mushrooms, birds, and game. Then mountains also provides ground for recreation, sporting, and tourism activities. However, mountains are prone to land degradation, climate change, natural disasters, and deforestation. People living in the mountains face climatic harshness and disaster risks. People in the mountains often suffer from poverty and lack of access to education and health services. These are the benefit and importance of mountains. So dear student, we shall discuss in the next video about valleys. So dear student, you read this again and again and try to understand.